Here I stroll down this lonely road, searching for a home. Then I found you, all alone, soaked to the bone. Here I stroll down this lonely road, searching for a home. Each ghoul that was hit with his magical energy slowly vaporized into piles of pure white ash. We ran on through the world together, seeing a world I never saw. Oh, we made up new numbers, and we gazed upon the water in everlasting awe. Now we walk on through the days like an everlasting. As the last of the few ghouls dissipated into dust, his energy began to subside, and the once brightly glowing aura in his eyes and horn faded. Dream, he muttered, feeling the energy slowly disappear, and feeling his body consumed with pain, he fell to the ground. Lucky was determined to get to him, and taking the knife he had given her, she used the hilt to break the glass. With the blade she cleared away any extra parts of the window. Jumping out of the wagon, she rushed to his side. Holding his head with her hooves, she looked down at him with the smoldering piles of the ghouls, now turned to ash, surrounding them. Wester was coughing large amounts of blood from his mouth. Her tears fell down onto his brown coat as she spoke to him.
Wester, I thought you said you wouldn't leave me.
His hoof was trembling terribly and brushing her yellow mane to the side. He said as warmly as he could, Don't cry, kiddo. I promised myself I'd always protect you. She buried her face into his chest and cried,
I don't want you to go. You're my only friend.
Shh, he replied softly, resting his hoof on her back. You can still make it. I'm sorry I couldn't make it with you. I'm sorry. Please, make it. His voice became weak until his coughing and breathing stopped altogether. She rose slowly from his chest and looked at him sobbing.
Wester?
She muttered. She shook him slightly.
Wester?
She asked once more.
Wester, please get up. Please.
She looked around at the empty ruins around her, and she shouted as loudly as she could, holding her friend in her hooves.
Help! Please help! Some pony, please help!
She cried into the silence.
Please.
She cooed, crying.
Please. Help me. Please.
From afar, on top of the massive steel wall of Ironstead, a pony looked at the poor pony cry through the lenses of a pair of binoculars. He was an orange unicorn with a red mane and dressed in a set of blue, dusty clothes. A rifle hung at his side by a strap as he continued to look out at the sad pony. Another pony, this time a muscular green earth pony stallion, came up to his side.
What's going on here?
He asked the orange lookout pony. The pony removed the binoculars from his eyes to address the stallion. That pack of ghouls, sir. One pony out there took them all out. The stallion raised an eyebrow at him.
What? That whole herd?
Yes, sir. The whole thing. Turning his attention to the small gray Pegasus in the distance, he pointed toward Lucky.
And who is that out there?
Her? Well, she was with the stallion out there, sir. It doesn't look like he survived the herd, sir. Both of them could hear Lucky cry out for help once more. Sir, it's just her. What are we going to do? Protocol states that we're not supposed to waste resources on wanderers when ghouls could be around. The Earth Pony stood there for a moment, listening to the hopeless pleas of the filly.
Send some of our boys down to get her. Send some of our boys down there to get her.
The lookout stallion looked puzzled by his order. Sir?
That is an order, and if you don't, I'll have you tell command how you disobeyed me when I gave you a direct order.
Yes, sir. I'll go get some pony right now on it, he answered before making his way down the wall. Staring out at the small filly, the stallion sighed to himself, not letting so much as another word leave his lips. How could he speak? Hearing the cries caused him to remain silent, and as the filly's voice rattled around in his mind, he watched her, hoping for the best. A green line on a black metal monitor spiked up and down at an easy pace. Each time it spiked up, it made a slight beeping noise, indicating the heart rate of the patient connected to it. Attached to the machine by thin white wires was Wester. He laid on a white examination bed, motionless, his eyes shut tight and his breathing shallow. A small chair was pulled up to the examination bed's side, upon which Lucky sat. With her hooves folded on the bed, she buried her face, sobbing softly. The room around them was gray and plain. Counters were covered with a variety of medical instruments, be it syringes or tubes containing various medical potions. The counters were littered with the equipment. In the box near the corner of the room was a set of old power armor. Her uncle used to be a medic, and the power armor was a memory of the days he had traveling the wastes. An old ceiling fan with 4 lights connected to it spun above them slowly. A door at the end of the room opened, and stepping through it was an older pony. The pony in question was Lucky's uncle, who wore a long, white lab coat. He was a unicorn whose mane was silver, and his coat a dark gray. Perched neatly on his nose was a pair of old glasses, which he pushed up onto his nose slightly every other moment. Lucky raised her head to see who had come through the door. Taking her hooves, she wiped away some of the tears from her face.
Uncle, will he be okay?
He bore a saddening look as he came to her side. Sighing, he answered her in a mournful tone.
Lucky, whatever his mutation is, it did a number on his body.
How bad is it?
She asked quietly. Rubbing the back of his neck unsurely, he replied,
Several major blood vessels throughout his body have ruptured. His brain is suffering from severe tension. I'm afraid he's beyond any help I can give him here.
But there has to be a way,
she insisted.
Like I said, I don't have the resources or help to help a pony in his condition. Not only this, but he is beyond help of medical potions.
But,
she cooed, taking one of Wester's hooves,
he's my friend. I don't want him to go.
I'm sorry, Lucky,
he said, wrapping a hoof around her, and in a comforting tone he added,
but I've done all I can to help him ease into the next life. I'm afraid your friend won't last past the next 2 days. She began to cry once more.
Are you sure there isn't something we can do?
He sighed, sounding unsure.
Only if there was some way I could give him a machine which healed the stress ruptures around his body and repair the hurt parts of the brain, I could theoretically keep him alive.
Lucky looked toward the power armor in the corner of the room.
What about that?
She asked, pointing at it. He turned his gaze to the box of armor.
My armor?
Doesn't it have magic healing stuff? Can it do all the things you said?
It can, but I'm not sure what the outcome might be.
Lucky thought for a moment, contemplating about the option which had circled around in her head.
Will he be okay if you put it on him?
Scratching his head, he thought about her idea.
But to make sure the brain becomes repaired, I'm going to have to let the system replace parts too stressed to function.
Will he be the same? That is, if you do it?
He shook his head at her.
The section of his brain that holds memories will be the part most affected. Some parts of his personality will stay, but I can't guarantee he'll remember you, or anything you've done together.
Lucky found it hard to speak, for the sadness inside her made her choke up.
Will he be able to live normally?
He won't be himself completely, but yes, he'll still have to eat, drink, sleep, and rest like any other pony.
Will he be able to live happily?
It is possible. I can't say for sure.
She smiled, looking at her friend rest peacefully.
As long as he's able to live a happy life.
Are you sure you want me to do this, even if he doesn't remember you?
I don't care if he forgets me,
she added, giving off a warm smile.
I just want him to be happy. Because I've got to protect him now. He's my friend, and I won't leave him behind.
If this is truly what you want for your friend, Lucky,
her uncle said, hugging her,
I'll do it. I'll try and save him.
The gray Pegasus stopped her story, smiling. Rocking back and forth in her chair, she had a few tears roll calmly down her cheeks. Well, kids, that's the story, she muttered. Both kids folded their forelegs and pouted.
Last time you left it at the same place. I want to know how it ends. Were they happy? Did he make it out okay? What happened?
Glitterchip exclaimed.
Yeah,
Conway agreed.
I want to know how it ends. Were they happy in the end?
Listen, kids, you asked for the story, and I've told you the story. If you don't like it, make an ending up.
But Lucy...
A few more tears rolled down her eyes. Listen, kids, I said...
Were they happy in the end?
The armored stallion asked. Looking at the stallion, she sat there speechless.
Were they?
The stallion asked once more. Smiling at the stallion, she gave him a loving smile. At first she didn't say anything, though looking at him in her uncle's armor. Building up the will to speak, she answered him. Yes, Wester. Yes, they were. Well, my little ponies, we had quite the adventure tonight. We learned about the story of Lucy, or rather Lucky, and her friend Wester. They went through a lot of adventures together, trying to survive in the wastes. It's a shame they had a bittersweet ending, but they're still very happy together to this very day. Well, I hope you enjoyed the story, my little ponies. Sweet dreams.